Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. We gotta talk about the Amazing Race finale.
Finale! But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe, give this video a thumbs up.
If you want to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the description. You know how this works. Come on, don't act brand new.
They might be.
Okay.
Hi guys, we had a finale.
I'm emotionally overwhelmed. I cried. My hands were sweating for a lot of this because of heights. Like, whew, man.
That heights challenge even got me nervous, and I was all like,
I honestly don't want to talk about it. Like, my body's buzzing just thinking about it. Oh.
Congratulations to the winners, but we're going to start at the top.
Yes.
Because we get 3 little segments of all the final 3 teams, cute little relationship, yada, yada, yada. We love each other. We've bonded over the race.
Yes. And Bill points out that, this is the first time in Amazing Race history that we've got an alliance in the final 3. Some people, I think some fans weren't super happy about that, but, it's historic nonetheless.
Exactly. Like, here's the thing. A lot of people have been like, no more alliances in Amazing Race. We don't like it. And then a lot of people respond with, they've literally been in since season 1. Like, alliances are just, you work together, usually does help you along the way. But I do find it to be an interesting fact that this is the first time an alliance of 3 made it all together to the final 3. And that is noteworthy because as a viewer, that is a different experience. Yes, we've had alliances from the get-go, but they have not always dominated an entire season. And that's the difference from the viewer perspective.
Yeah. And it's like, as I was watching this, I would just sort of found myself like, I don't really know who to root for because it's so easy to root for an underdog, right? Like, and I like all of these teams. Like, I don't know. It just was like, oh, I guess I'm just kind of fine if anybody wins, like, I really hesitate to compare it again to BB22, but it was just sort of like in the end, like with BB22, I was just like, I don't really care about any of these people and I don't care who wins. And this one was like, I like all of these people and I don't care who wins, So it's kind of like, I understand like why maybe producers might not love it if an alliance makes it all the way because they want some separation between the teams, but at least we had 3 teams that we liked here.
Yes. Okay, before we get too far in, Casey and Amy are both in the chat and both of them are in the lead, but I just want to say no congrats yet because I haven't finished the draft points. So yes, probably Casey and Amy are both winners in our league, but hold the phone.
Okay.
I gotta finish the draft points. Okay, I'll get to that right after this video.
Yeah.
I can only do so many things at once.
Yeah, the suspense. So we're flying to New Orleans, right? From Manila. We're going back to America as we always do on the Amazing Race. And everyone is like kind of feeling confident. Like you say, we get these packages with each of the teams and they're all like, we think we can win. And I think any of them could win because they've all finished first at some point throughout the race. They've all been at the top the whole time. When we get to the airport, it is that crazy taxi sprint to get in the cabs. And this is when the pack separates.
This is, I feel like almost every finale, this is the make or break for one of the teams.
Yeah.
It happens, I think, most legs, but we have more teams. It's not, you're just like, oh, crap, the blondes from South Carolina got a bad cab. But in the finale, you're like, oh, no, the Beard Bros are lost.
That's their loss. Like oh boy, as soon as they were like, our cab driver took a shortcut, I was like, oh, no, I don't think he did. I think he took a wrong turn. And then you ended up on North Rampart instead of South Rampart. And how awful was it to watch them like ditch the cab? Because I think they thought they were closer than they were. Rampart, get out, like pull over. And then all of a sudden they're like, where's the park? Like, we don't know where we are. And I was like, no, like they've been such a strong team, especially for the past 3 legs. You hate to see it, you know?
You hate to see it. Oh my God. They came in with the most wins, right? And all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden they're just straight loss. Yeah, I think they were first off frustrated with their cab driver and also thought that like he was close to the park. So they're like, screw it, we'll just run. And no, they don't
Right.
know where they're going. They're running around New Orleans lost. I am like, Will, I too have been to New Orleans. I'm like, I know where Bourbon Street is. Let's run this way.
Uh-huh.
Yes, let's do beads. Let's eat king cakes. I'm super excited. And Will and James, I felt like we're just living their best life for this whole, like, at least
Oh,
first
yeah.
one.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they had to lead the entire leg, right? Like they
Yep.
got to the beads first. Like you say, Will knew exactly where to go. So they just show right up. They're having the best time collecting all these beads. And, you know, Hung and Chi eventually show up as well behind Will and James. And they're just kind of trucking along. It's not a huge struggle, which honestly was kind of this whole leg. Like there weren't any challenges that really got anybody. Like, the most drama was losing the cab and then eating beignets for Will. You know, like that was really the hardest part of this leg, it seemed. But the beads is like pretty straightforward, except that the McKibbins finally do show up, right?
Right.
And they
While
seem,
they're still getting beads. So you're like,
yeah,
okay, we
okay,
can
they're
maybe
not that
catch
far
up a little
behind.
bit here. Yeah.
And then I noticed that the McKibbins were like, we need one size. We only need the big ones. Like they noticed that immediately. Whereas Hung and Chi and Will and James are now both getting checks, but they've collected the smaller beads. And so they have to keep going.
Yeah.
But it didn't really make a difference because they just had so much of a time lead that they were still going to stay in the lead.
Yeah. This part did feel close. The editing really helped us at this part. But yes, Will and James get out first with their beads. Hung and Chi are not far behind. And then it feels like the Beard Bros are not far behind either. So they all are at this bakery together where they have to find a baby in a king cake. Now, no, Will is so excited because he loves king cake. He knows exactly what this baby is all about, which is helpful to know how tiny those are.
Uh-huh.
And so he wants to do it. He can't wait. He's there mushing cake up all day long. And that was
loves cake. Yeah, it was a lot. They like wheeled in the carts and he was like, thanks for the extra cake. Great. But it was a lot of cake to go through. I also have to point out that there were several moments of Hung being the most adorable woman who's ever walked the earth. She's getting buried in the big beads. Like beads are up to her forehead. Like she's just got such a small frame and all those beads on her face. And then she's like walking down the street, playing the washboard, like just being the cutest lady like I've ever seen. I just love 100%. Her so much.
I love her so much. And then she had a great mom moment when they finally, we'll talk to what happens with his baby, but when they finally get the baby and they have to eat the beignets, she says, less talking, more chewing. And I'm like, yes.
Perfect, mom. Perfect, mom.
Yes, thank you,
Mom. So good. Now, when yes, right. So his strategy is just press the cakes, whereas Cheese is like, mush the cakes, and that is a lot more stress on the forearm. So Cheese seems to be like having a bit of a harder time than Will, but they're both kind of going equally fast. But just again, Will and James have that time lead, and he is able to find the baby on his first sort of search through all of the cakes. He doesn't have to really redo anything, Will, and he finds his baby as the Beard Bros are showing up to the cafe. Then they have to eat the beignets. And this is maybe the best Will and James moment all season.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. First off, it was only 3 beignets each. At first, I thought they had to each eat 6. When they were like half dozen, I thought they each had to do a half dozen. It was only 3. And Will is like from the get-go, cannot. He just cannot. He says it's like gagging. The cinnamon salad. Yeah. Whereas James is like, eat your gosh darn beignet. What's wrong with you?
Will is like borderline having a panic attack. And James is kind of like, will you just finish the beignet? Like not really sympathetic to him right now.
Not at all. I mean, I am like, Will is like vomiting. And James is like, God, could you stop vomiting, please? Eat your cake.
He's like, Will, you're gonna have to finish this. And Will is like, James, can you can you please just eat it? Like it's another one of those moments between them. Will
Yeah.
on all fours on the ground, like heaving, and James is like rolling his eyes, like nibbling at his beignet.
Oh my God. The eye roll at this point was so good that James is like, no, I'm not going to eat an extra beignet. You need to suck it up. And Will is not able to do it. So eventually, James is just like, fine, eating the fourth beignet.
He's like drama queen. Oh my God. And then on their way out, James is like, I just ate 4 beignets. And I'm like, wait a minute. Will only ate 2 beignets and was like doing all of that? Like, how much king cake did he eat while he was searching through the king cakes?
Yeah, that might have been. We got to ask about that because was that the problem? To fill up on king cake first? Well, how come the 2 beignets is too much? What?
I know. I couldn't believe it.
Easily can shove these down my throat.
Yeah.
Okay, so they run out, and now we get to see that she has gone through all of his cakes, and he's got to go back through them because he clearly missed it. And then we see Hung say, I see the baby.
I see the baby.
Right
and
there.
she tells, I think it's Riley who's waiting with her, and she's like, so Cheese Baby is just at the top of the table. And Riley's like, oh, no, he's never going to see that because it's the front of the table behind this giant pile of cakes that he's built up. Like, it's the worst place for it to be. And she is just, Hung is very patiently like, focus, don't give up. She can't help, and she knows it. And good for her to like hold back in that moment, because that would have been bad. But it's just like, no, another one of those moments where you're like, God, could this be worse?
And I was so worried that the baby was going to fall because it was sort of like teetering there. And I was like, oh my God, if it falls on the floor, what do we do? They may never. And like, I can't imagine being hung on the side, just like, oh my gosh, is he ever gonna get it? But he does eventually get it. And then I find it interesting because who's doing this? Madison is doing this.
Yeah.
Madison's like, oh, now I've seen how small it was. So like he wasn't even sure the size of the baby. So his method had to be
because he had to like go back through some of the early ones because he was like, I wasn't thorough enough looking for the baby in these early ones. But again, another Hung moment in this episode when she finds the baby. Hung has like a full-on Office moment where like the camera pans to her and she's like like she's just like grinning for the camera, totally breaking the fourth wall. Like, I didn't say anything and he found it. It's so cute.
Oh, so good. They seem to eat their beignets, no problem.
No problem.
So Will and James have run off to the next roadblock, and the roadblock clearly says the other person has to do it. So you don't have a choice. And I do love this on a finale. I love being like, the other person just has to do it. You gotta do it, whatever it is.
Everybody, both of you have to step up in the final leg. Like, I think that's great. For each of you needs to complete an individual challenge. So it's not like, okay, we have one roadblock, so the stronger person on our team can kind of just carry us through. It's like, no, you both got to do it. So the roadblock is take a swing, right? And like already, Sarah, my hands are sweating. Like I'm getting so nervous just even thinking about
so much about it, David.
And they're gonna swing over the Mississippi River, Old Man River, as Phil calls him, which I was like, hey, thanks for the shout out. And so then James is like, oh my God, I do not want to do heights. I hate heights. And Will's like, I didn't want to fiddle through king cake. And James is like, your face lit up. What are you talking about? Yes, you did.
Literally, your face. You were so excited. Don't even try. Yeah. Like this is the super fan moment, James. Something like this is going to come up. You have to do it. And he's done so much preparation with everything else. He just has to suck it up. Now, this is fairly terrifying. You are under a massive bridge, which is just scary. It's night. The river below you is just a dark abyss, which is terrifying. Who wants to just jump out over a dark abyss? No. That's when I'm like, even I won't. I don't want to do that.
Thank you. As I was watching this, I mean, James is he's so nervous getting strapped in, right? And he's like, so what's it like to jump off the
Yeah.
bridge? And the guy's like, oh, I've never done it. And oh, great, I'm the guinea pig. Okay,
Yeah.
super. And then he has to walk. Oh my God. He has to walk down on the beam and he has to sit on the edge of the beam. And I truly don't know what to do. If I were like, Sarah, you had chosen the king cake challenge and then I had to do the swing. I don't know if you would have survived the leg. I might have pushed you off the bridge, Sarah. Let's be honest.
David, you broke up in that, which actually made that more dramatic. You were like,
no, my internet is so bad.
Patrons, we gotta get David new internet.
Yeah, come on, please subscribe to our
We'll talk about
Patreon.
that later. But yes, I got the gist of what you were saying. Not a fan if you had to accidentally do that one. I don't like dropping. So even though I'm cool with heights, the fact that you have to just like throw your body out and good Lord, you got to grab that clue. Cause oh my gosh, if you miss that clue, holy moly, you got to go back through all of that again. And you thank you.
Oh my God.
And you have to like launch your body from a seated position, which I have to imagine is so hard. How do you just,
you're not like jumping with the full power of your legs. You're just kind of like, I guess, clenching your butt and then like launching yourself off of this beam to grab the glue. Thank God. I mean, the editing was so good where they like, you know, cut to commercial as James is jumping and all we see is Will like looking on from the edge of the bridge. So that was so great. And then they come back and he does catch the clue. And I was like, thank God. And then they really milked it and did a slow-mo replay with the scream in slow motion as he's swinging. And I'm like, this is so funny.
His scream was great. But here's what was really good is that Will at somewhere in here got in a great eye roll. And I was like, oh, tit for tat. Like James just did that to Will. And now James is freaking out about heights. And Will's like, eye roll, whatever, just do it. They're a great couple.
Yes, they just have like no patience for each other at this point. They're like, can we just finish the race? Oh my God.
Sad, thank you for the super chat. We're gonna put it towards David's internet.
Oh God, so awful.
Okay, now they both have to rappel down, which neither one of them wants to do. They have to rappel down. They grab a big ball. They have to roll this massive ball into a warehouse. Now they're looking for a trunk. And now I'm finding out about this globe puzzle. And I'm like, here we go. Because at this point, Will and James are like way far ahead. And I need some catching up. So I think we got a really difficult puzzle. We've seen finales where this last challenge takes hours and hours and they're all there together trying to figure it out. And no, Will and James are like, so we study geography and we're just going to nail this right away.
They're literally like, that's Saudi Arabia, that's India, that's Australia, this is Florida. Like, I mean, I get Florida, but like all the fact that they... Well, I'm a bit stunned that they're just like Saudi Arabia right there. Like the Arabian Peninsula is one thing, but like Saudi Arabia is very specific and they just knew where that was. I was like, wow, these guys are unstoppable.
They really, really are. Tasha, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It'll go towards my internet. Thanks.
Yeah, so, okay, while they're working on this super hard puzzle that I thought was going to take hours, Hung and Chi now are over on the bridge, and Hung has to do it.
It's Hung on the heights again. They bless us with a replay of her walking down the side of the building in Berlin, where she's like, not even walking, she's falling.
Trilling and she's falling down the side of the building. Thank you for that. But then she also points out that she has what she call them, like T-Rex arms. That she has shorter arms, and I was like, oh no. Now this editing, I'll tell you guys, I got teary at this editing. The way that they had her sitting on this ledge, under the bridge, and
Okay.
I'm terrified she's not gonna. She's like focusing
I know.
so hard,
I know.
and is she gonna be able to like seated lunge, grab it with her hands? And I was so terrified for her that like I started to tear up. And when she grabbed
Oh,
it, I was like, oh God, thank you.
I
Thank
know. I was like, please don't tell me she has to do this.
No.
Not just multiple times, but even more than once. Like I would,
Mm-mm.
because
No.
every time, I gotta tell you, every time they showed the swing, it felt like they were too close to the whatever those are called, the beams that are holding the bridge up. Like
Mhm.
they're too close to these giant cement blocks where I'm like,
Mhm.
you're if you go a few degrees in the wrong direction, you're slamming into a cement, whatever that is. What
Yeah.
word? I'm just still hands
A
are still
cemented
sweating. You have
beam.
to
I
stop.
don't
Like,
know.
yeah,
Mhm.
beam, the cement beam.
Yeah.
So I'm like, please only do this once. And thank God
Mhm.
she launches herself off and catches it. And she's so proud of herself, and I'm proud of her. Then we get like a cute little, final beat with the McKibbins. They're finally finishing their beignets. Again, not a ton of drama with the beignets from
Nope.
those
Mhm.
two. I need to
Anybody else?
I mean, we've got to ask Will and James about their experience, but then I also want to compare that to the other two. It's like,
Uh-huh.
how hard
Uh-huh.
were the beignets for you?
Right.
We got to do some sleuthing here.
We will do
But
that. Yeah, so they're moving to the bridge thingy and they're
mhm,
like they're powering through it. They're athletes, they're mad they're in the back and they're just like whatever, do it. Let's go. What's
mhm.
really happening though right now is Will and James have finished this globe puzzle in I don't know what seems like 5 minutes and they put it up on the float to be judged and thank goodness the judge did not just say yes great. He was like make it prettier. Please make it
Yeah,
prettier. There's
he's like,
people really
it's
far behind
correct,
you.
but the assembly needs work. And so they have to like pull it back down and just kind of like tighten the puzzles. Again, it's like they got it 100% right. It wasn't like anything was misplaced and they had to pull it
Right.
all apart and reassemble it. They're just kind of like smoothing it out. It's like
Yes.
not that big of a deal. But it does give the editors a chance to, make it seem close
Likely.
with, Hung and Chi are now repelling and they're rolling the ball as the McKibbins are finishing repelling. And the editors just don't even have the opportunity to
We
really
don't. Like,
show
we
Will and
can't
James
even
in like they're not in the warehouse they leave the
right.
warehouse before Hung and Chi even get there.
Yes. Like, they don't even have the footage of them being like, "Oh, Hung and Chi are arriving." Like, they don't have
Uh-huh.
that to even, like,
No,
play with
they don't
us.
have the
They
shot.
can't
Yeah.
do any of that, and, I mean, we have seen this before. This has happened in a finale before. I don't
Hmm.
know how you fix it as a producer, but, it's not as exciting when this
Hmm.
happens,
Yeah.
and so, we're very excited for Will and James. We obviously they win, and they obviously know they're winning. They're in the van, like going to the final pit stop, going,
Yeah.
"We did it! Oh my God, we did it!"
I mean, but literally, they're so they were so clicked in this leg. The clue didn't even say go to the Superdome where the pit stop is. It was like the pit stop is where the Saints go marching in. And James is me, where he's like, where do the Saints go marching in? I would have been like, can I get an address? Like, what is going on here? Or at least a street
Right.
name, the nearest major intersection, something. And
Yes.
Will's like, it's the Superdome. And I'm like, God, they just know everything. Like,
Right.
yeah, of course they won this leg.
That's a moment that the producers were like, and they'll get in their cab and they'll be like, "Can we Google what are the Saints?" And we'll
Uh-huh.
have this like tense moment. But no, Will's like, "They're the Saints. They play at the Superdome. Let's go. Here we are." And off they go. Look, they're super fans. They prepared so
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
Like they deserve to win. Like they did their homework,
Absolutely.
y'all.
Absolutely.
Won a
They
hundo.
run in to the Superdome as, they're showing us, Hung and Chi and the McKibbins kind of working on their puzzles. But like,
Yeah.
to be honest, who cares at this point because Will and James are winning and they're running into the Superdome. I gotta say, there wasn't as much joy from the waiting teams as I might have expected. I think
Oh.
maybe some of them were still maybe a little bit feeling some kind of way about
Oh,
James
really?
and Will's strategy on the game. I don't know. They just weren't. some people weren't beaming as brightly as maybe they could have for a team
Oh.
that, maybe just won $1 million. But maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I don't know. I didn't notice that. That did not strike me. I don't know. That's an interesting point. They were all just recently burned by the team that ran in first place. So who knows how they were feeling. But Will and James, as the super fans, know to like take a moment. They like hold hands and like, here we go together through, and they run down the path and they get up on the platform and they are overwhelmed with emotions. They are so excited. They give us, some talky stuff. I mean, I'm excited, but then
Sarah.
Will took it up a notch. They gave James some time to talk. He's a super fan. He talked about all the times he applied.
Yes. He gave a beautiful speech about like I applied 9 or 10 times with many different friends and family members and getting choked up like you were my partner all along. And it's so sweet because like we know watching it that they are now like, getting married and life partners and all of this. Like James had a beautiful speech, but then Will one-ups him because Will packed a freaking engagement ring to run the amazing race.
How did that get past James? I want to ask. I feel like James organized all of their bags. I might be completely wrong with that. When Will was like, yes, I love you, gets down on one knee, pulls that out of his fanny pack. I'm like, what? This is what we proposed?
Yeah, it's amazing. So sweet. And then, we get Hung and Chi in second place. And she's like, I think this brought us closer, but that's just my opinion. Which is like such a funny thing to say.
He's like, that's what I think. I'm just going to check in with my wife, though, to make sure that's correct.
Yeah.
Because she knows. So she just lets me have to run things by her first.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you could just ask Hung if we're closer. She'll let you know.
They are so adorable. Before we move on to team 3, Hung and Chi they were so fun to watch, and I'm so happy they got second place. Would have been great for them to win, but we say that about everybody.
True.
But Hung was like, this is the honeymoon we never took. And I was like, oh gosh, I hope they get an actually like relaxing honeymoon because they had to work so hard on this. But boy, love them.
I just think they're so great. And like we've said so many times before, like such a surprise this season, and not just a really strong team, but fun to watch, funny, like great moments on, with the camera, and like Hung's just like amazing. And she is like a beast at all these competitions, like really did not expect like the married parents couple to dominate this season the way that they did. Yeah.
Absolutely. Then third place, Riley and Madison come running through, and they're a bit more bummed. You can see
they're bummed. Yeah. I mean, it was a bad cab. Like we've said at the top, like none of these challenges really tripped anybody up in any kind of significant way. And so it was the order that they do the route info about the Mardi Gras party, and that was the order that they finished the race. So that was what made the difference. So,
Yeah. And I feel for them because they had done so well in the past. They probably really did think that they had a great shot at winning, and they did have a great shot at winning, but unfortunately, I wish they didn't have that crappy cab as well, because the tighter this race could have been, would have been more exciting for us to even watch,
Yeah. It wasn't
on each other's tail from the get-go.
Exactly. It was not a nail biter of a finale. And, it's tough because the producers plan these challenges and they're trying to think of things that are going to trip people up, but they just didn't. They probably thought like people are going to have to go back through those king cakes multiple times to find this tiny little baby. Like, great idea creatively, but it just kind of didn't happen that way. Like Will just made it through and found it. So, it wasn't the most like edge of your seat finale, but still, I think a lot of great moments, and we just have loved cast, specifically teams all along. So, it's just really satisfying to like see it come to this kind of an end. And
yeah. And I mean, hey, this top 3 wanted to be in the 3 together. They wanted to race at the end together and just see who was going to win. And so, hey, that's what happened. They could have taken each other out at some point if they wanted to, but they didn't. So here we are. And congratulations, Will and James.
Congrats. And I'm so excited to talk to them tomorrow and congratulate them. And not in person, but virtually.
I can't believe we get to talk to all 3 of them tomorrow. It is so exciting. I mean, we've never spoken to Hung and Chi or Riley and Madison. So that's super, super fun. We've got questions, but I know you guys in the chat have questions. So if anybody wants to throw out questions, please do so. I always read them and throw them in if I can. So we will have all 3 of those for you tomorrow.
Yep.
And wow, I can't believe the season is over.
I know. It felt like it went so fast. Like we waited so long and now it's done. But I mean, the next season is like already cast or something. Like they're
no, this is the next season is the one that started and got interrupted when COVID started. So do you know when, if and when we'll get
feels like it's 3? Yeah, that feels like it's gonna be a while.
Maybe a minute. I mean, it took us 2 years to get this one. So not sure when we'll get season 33. So we're just gonna sit with this one for a minute. Carry us through the new year.
Right.
But we'll have other things we'll watch in 2020.
Of course. Yeah. We have a lot lined up for you guys, but
we are not gonna leave you hanging, guys. No way. David and I, we're gonna watch that TV.
That's right. And we still got that last little bit of Amazing Race content. Make sure you check back tomorrow for our interviews with the top 3.
Yes. Oof. Yep.
Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. That feels right. That feels right. Yeah.
You guys in the chat, thank you so much for joining us live and hanging out with us all season long. We appreciate all of that. Yeah. And for the patrons who are in the draft, I will tally that up for you. Check back soon.
Yes. And thank you to the patrons for funding my new internet. I appreciate that. If you guys are joining us later and it's still before our interviews tomorrow morning, leave your comments or your questions in the comment section so that we can include those in our interviews and let us know what you thought of this finale. Were Will and James the team you were rooting for? If not, how do you feel about that?
How do you feel about the way that they finished? Absolutely.
Yeah. And how many beignets do you think you could eat? I want to know because I think that I was like, I don't think this would be a problem for me. So I'm curious. It's a lot of dough, but I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I said this on Twitter, but fun fact: I used to work at a Cajun restaurant, and I ate beignets every shift I worked. Those are so good. Fried dough,
so good.
Is just like you just don't beat fried dough, you know.
And beignets, I feel like are pretty airy. Like they're not as dense as like donuts. Like 3 donuts feels like, oh god, like I'd probably be like choking it down too. But the beignets
are full of air. This is air. This is a beignet. This is air.
Yep. We're gonna dig into that tomorrow.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.
Bye.